And of course, one of these teleporting sequences led to a cameo with Crimson.
Yes, yeah, that was the second biggest reason to do that because about that a little after I came up with that idea, Crimson and I started seriously talking about doing a crossover, and we had a bunch of different ways to do that, but the biggest problem we had was that to be totally true to the timeline in the Half-Life universe, there would be some kind of a discontinuity because Shepard doesn't show up in Black Mesa until Barney has already left. So there's really no way that they could have met. And the closest is at the very end. They're still about a couple hours apart, but it's pretty close. So I then, when I did the jumping around, I very deliberately showed that Barney is not only jumping through space but jumping through time slightly, and so I had him kind of skip forward in a couple hours.
So that's how the whole thing worked, and of course the whole big joke about you being on one side of the locker and Crimson being on the other side.
Yeah, that initially started out where he was going to be on where I teleport in and there's like a big pile of rubble blocking a wall right by the techno room of hell from Freeman's mind. And we were initially going to do it where he would no clip to the other side of the wall, and so he'd be on that side and I'd be on the other side and we'd be talking. But he later had the idea to put him in Freeman's locker because there's a lot more fun we could have with that, and I think it worked out really well.
I can definitely say, in my opinion, that it definitely did work out well.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was looking at the comments on his episode 12, the one where he's in the locker, and I was surprised at how many people seem to think that's like the best thing we've done so far with the parodied Mind series.
And of course, you also did another crossover with Parker's Mind, where you actually played another security guard.
Yeah, that was fun. He asked me to do that, and I wasn't really even sure what role I was going to be playing, but I was really happy with the result. I thought it was really, really funny.
Is there any more crossovers that you're hoping to do?
I don't know. I mean, I would love to do more. But I don't think I mean, Barney's Mind is more or less finished, so I don't think there's going to be any more crossovers unless I squeak one into episode 3, which might happen, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. But I would certainly love to, appear in Shepard's Mind or, the Portal or something like that, in some, hidden form or another. I think it would be fun.
Now, what's another sequence that was completely came out of nowhere was the end flying scene in Barney's Mind. What mean to some of the viewers, as soon as you drove out the gate, people started thinking, "Oh, that's the end of the game now." No, then all of a sudden we started hearing the speech about driving to an airport and stuff. Where did that idea come from? What made you think?
Oh, that came also very early on, and you can kind of see that where I actually put up a teaser trailer for that episode, like I don't know, about a month before I actually made the episode. But that came up a ways before, and I had this idea in my head that I would love to put Barney in some completely ridiculous situation where I can play some action music and have some exciting thing going on. And I also wanted to do something that was a little more cinematic, like where I'd cut from one scene to another and maybe do a third person perspective and that kind of a thing. And the final result kind of ended up, I had all these great ideas, and then I kept cutting bits out, and it kind of whittled it down to more of a mind type thing where 90% of it is spent inside the cockpit from Barney's point of view. So it kind of, I'm not sure if that kind of gimped it or not, and because it made it, a lot of people said that it was a little more boring, but it was still good. So I don't know. So but that came from basically I wanted to do something a little more cinematic and exciting for the end of Barney's Mind because of the fact that the ending for Blue Shift is terrible. I hate it. It's the worst ending of the Half-Life, the original Half-Life series games, in my opinion. It was, it's a short game and it's fun, and then all of a sudden you get to the end, you have this little battle, and you jump in the teleporter, and then it's over, and you're just like, what? That's it? They drive off. I mean, come on. So I really wanted to do something that was better. It was. I just didn't like how that would end, and I didn't like if that would make how the series would end.
You gotta be hoping now that if Valve ever remakes Blue Shift, that they'll turn around and go, new ending.
Oh yes, well, if you notice, I tried to make it fit with the canon of the Half-Life universe as much as possible. I mean, obviously, there's about 2 things I've changed in Barney's mind. Well, 3 things, I suppose, that kind of push the envelope of the canon, but don't really mess with it too much. The one thing I've done is I've updated the series. A lot of people say, "Oh, there's no Xboxes in blah 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 blah," but 1990 whatever. And I basically say that I'm updating it because last I checked, aliens hadn't invaded New Mexico. So that seemed kind of obvious to me to do that change, and then I can do more modern humor, like talk about MySpace and Twitter and Xboxes and iPhones and that kind of thing. And then the other 2 things I've done is I've drawing a blank here, but I made it so that Barney actually went to school at MIT for a year with Gordon Freeman, because I wanted to kind of make their relationship a little more personal than just, he's a guy that Barney knows at work but never seems to hang out with or anything. I don't know. So I changed that, but I kept, the idea is that he dropped out and then went to whatever the college is that it says on the game that he went to, and graduated from there. And then the last thing I changed is obviously the ending. But if you notice, at the end, he's flying towards Bulgaria, I believe, which has been conjectured as the setting for Half-Life 2. So I kind of tried to tie in, how he gets all the way from New Mexico to Europe for Half-Life 2.
So you definitely did your research and thought of all the continuity and ways to connect everything.
Yeah,
keep the universe going.
Yeah, I definitely tried to do that. As I went through the series. Though the first few episodes, I didn't really pay too much attention to it, and so there was a couple, not really. There were a couple of things like Barney mentioning his girlfriend. I don't know. There were some issues there, which I fixed in the remake. But yeah, for the most part, I tried to keep it as to fit with the canon and the timelines of everything as I could.